Here at the Black and White Podcast, we're open to experimentation. 2 episodes ago, right? 2 episodes ago, we started a new regular series that we called Comic Fights, where we're just going to argue about whether or not a character is lame or not. I clearly won that episode. Superman was lame. Matt had absolutely no defense. He was in shambles by the end of that episode. If you haven't listened to it yet, I urge you to go back and listen to it. To just listen to me break this man in 5 different places.
Like the Man of Steel, my fortitude will never be crushed. My man, I had to hit him. I had to go for the heart. I hit him on the heart. Once again, DC Comics.
To be fair, that's a little bit of revisionist history on my part.
A little bit.
I just wanted to see what you'd say. So we're going to do that again. We're going to start another kind of regular, reoccurring.
We're gonna fight. We're gonna do that again.
It's a regular reoccurring topic that we're going to call 4 for 4. And really what it is, one of the things that made us start this podcast is that we just love talking to each other about comic books. We want to talk to, maybe not directly talk to other people about comic books, unless but through the podcast, we'll talk at you about comics. So we're gonna go back and forth. We're gonna recommend 4 comics that we're really enjoying right now. They don't have to be new comics, just what we're reading currently. And each comic, we have a maximum of 4 minutes to talk about what it's about, why we like it, whatever. You don't have to use the whole 4 minutes. You can if you want to, but at 4 minutes, you get cut off. Really don't want this episode longer than
Gotcha.
So we're going to hold ourselves to 4-minute maximum, but if you don't go to 4, that's no problem. There's no theme other than, we're each going to talk about 4 comics that we're really having a good time reading right now. Without further ado, I'll let Matt kick it off with his first rec. I'm going to start the timer in 3, 2, you're on the clock.
Wow, a lot of pressure. First one, first 4 for 4. Let's start off strong, guys. Dave has talked to me about this series for a very long time, and I was a little resistant to get on board. I was a fan of this property as a child, but didn't follow it all the way through. Kind of popped in and out here and there, but was a fan of the property, especially originally when it first started. My first pick, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
You know what I love about that?
What's that?
I didn't like Power Rangers.
Dude,
I only liked it because of the comic.
I remember Power Rangers coming on, like it was X-Men was first in our area in Ohio, and then it was like this new show, Power Rangers. So I definitely had Power Rangers fever for sure. I'll talk to you later about the one time I wanted Zach, the Black Ranger. I thought he was just the coolest guy ever, and he brought me Jason because that was the only he was a good dad. That was the only one he could literally find because they were all sold out, but I was super bummed. But regardless, the Power Rangers comics are fantastic. Admittedly, I jumped in the Alterian War, which was started like issue 13. Granted, before that, there's been like 100 other issues of Power Rangers leading up to that have all been fantastic. So who is this Matt character? I have no idea who this Matt character is, who's the Green Ranger in this universe and continuity.
As a spoiler.
That's fine. But it's such a good universe. And like I like the Power Rangers show. Like I've heard universally from other people I talked to about Power Rangers, like the lore that is being built in these comics is something that's really special. And this is like a licensed property done right.
Which you don't get a lot of.
Which you do not get a lot of. And we both read a lot of licensed properties of stuff from when we were younger, like G.I. Joe, TMNT, whatever. But they're doing it right, man. It is solid. The art is great. Some of the backstories are fleshed out. A lot of this focuses on a Zordon and his kind of like, you don't know anything about Zordon. He's just a blue head in a tube in the show. In this, you find out more about his backstory, and we are ramping up to issue 100, which is I think now is only like 2 issues away of each book. I got the number 1 issue, and I read like Power Rangers, and I like that more than Mighty Morphin. But like, you really need to read them both. They do intertwine a lot.
They're
so
absolutely connected.
They're absolutely connected. Honestly, now when I read them, I read Mighty Morph. I wait for Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers to come out, and then I read them back to back.
Yeah, me too.
That's how I prefer to read them.
You got 1 minute left.
So Dave was right. I will give Dave credit when he's right. He was right about something.
Love to hear it.
So Dave was right, and then another guy I interacted with on Twitter that I met from some other podcasts, Javane Dargan, he was right as well too. And because he used two sons of bitches, I'm picking up hardcovers of the back issues now of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers by Boom. These are beautiful collected editions, and I'm all in on Power Rangers.
You're in deeper than me.
Go, baby. That's all I can say. I'm out. How much time do I got left?
20 seconds.
All right, I'm out.
All right.
Anything you need to add?
Oh man, I love that book.
Time?
Big fan of those two books.
It's a good book.
It's a short leash. I mean, they're like one bad story arc away from me piecing out forever. But for now, I'm in. I'm in until I'm not. That's my theme.
But I mean, have you read it from the beginning, kind of?
Yep.
So you've been in for like 100 issues, man. Like you can't get.
No. I just started with Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers.
So you've been in for 15. You've been in for a year though. So
yeah, a couple years.
Okay.
They're like issue 20 now.
Okay.
All right. You ready to put me on the clock?
And 3, 2, 1, go.
So the first comic I'm going to talk about is it's a type of comic that I don't think I've really mentioned much on the podcast before, but a style of comic that I really, 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 really love. It's horror comics. And the comic Spread by Image Comics. It came out like 4 or 5 years ago. It only ran for 25 issues. And I really hate the Walking Dead comparison because I think that's really easy for people to make in any sort of like post-apocalyptic world where humanity is sort of struggling to get by because of some outside force, whether it be zombies or whatever. So it would be easy to say this is like Walking Dead. But I think it takes more from comics like Crossed by Avatar than it does Walking Dead. And like the short version is this thing called the Spread shows up and it just consumes organic life and it becomes a part of the spread. And they call it the Spread because it just slowly continues to creep out from where it started and take over more and more territory. There's a quarantine zone in the United States that no one goes into. And then there's people that live close to the quarantine zone, and there's everywhere else. Not much everywhere else left. Spread has taken over quite a bit of real estate in the United States. Your protagonist is a guy that doesn't really talk much. He's got a baby with him that I won't say why he has the baby, but the baby is important. And the thing that I really like about the comic is that it's very gore focused, but the gore is almost comical at times. Like think of horror movies from the 80s and practical effects where it's so over the top that it's almost goofy and hilarious. They managed to get that feel with a lot of the art in the comic while still maintaining a really suspenseful, tense, and kind of uneasy tone. It's just a really fun read. And I haven't really predicted any of the twists yet, which has been fun because I think sometimes those comics can be predictable. And this is definitely not that.
Is the Spread like a creature or is it just like is it? I'm thinking both. Like StarCraft. I don't know if you played StarCraft, but like the creep, the Zerg, it's like takes over the map. I didn't know. So
it's a little bit of both. It's one giant organism that is spreading, but also as it infects things, like it'll take a bear, and then you'll have like a Spread infected bear running around.
Okay.
There's also like pieces of the Spread that have wings that fly around and hunt. So I don't want to give too much away because if I say much more, it gives away kind of some main story elements. But if you're a fan of gore and horror comics, this one has been a really, really, really fun read. I can't recommend it enough. And it's short. It's 5 volumes, and you're done. Not a lot to read.
I've seen the cover art. Is this a sci-fi book or is it like more rooted, like just everyday kind of thing?
It's everyday kind of like.
Okay.
People are like struggling to get by.
Okay. I thought it was in like
It's not.
space.
No, it's not at all. It's
Okay.
like grounded on the earth, like scavenging for resources and food. Like people are struggling.
Got it.
Real good.
15 seconds to spare.
Look at me. I've been practicing.
Number 2. Okay. This one's probably gonna be quick, but
All right. You're going.
so my number 2 recommendation. I have debated, gone back and forth with Dave. I've been trying to get him hooked on another shared superhero universe. I was not as successful in this attempt as the Rogue Sun, Radiant Black universe. I've been trying to get Dave hooked on the Spawn universe. Uh, with that said, I really think Gunslinger Spawn is an excellent comic book. Not You don't need to read any of the other Spawn books, but I really enjoy Gunslinger Spawn pretty much. You don't necessarily know why right now, but he's been pulled out of the 1800s to current day. And he has the Hell Spawn, like all the other spawns, that green power from Hell. What's going on kind of in the storyline is, in the Spawn books overall, are the angels, the corrupt angels and the demons, like they can't go back to heaven and hell respectively, so everyone's like trapped on earth and all the gates have been closed. I don't know if that's like the Spawn overall story or whatever, but
No, that's new. That's a new thing
so
that happened recently
okay.
when Al came back.
Okay, so they're like all
Your boy
trapped.
knows a thing or two about Spawn.
Okay. So they're all trapped and they can't kind of go back right now. So in the first kind of arc, you learn that they're this specific sect of them are working together. What I like about this Gunslinger book is the art by Brett Booth is like breathtaking. Like it's really good art, and if you know me, art is a big deal for me. But some of the things that I also think are interesting are that whole like fish out of water thing. Like he's from the 1800s, so he's transported to current day, and like he's on a motorcycle and he drives a motorcycle, but like he runs out of gas and he doesn't know what gas is. So he meets up with like this gas station clerk and he's talking to him about like, dude, you got to have gas. He's like, Gunslinger's like, what's wrong with my bike? Like, I don't know what's going on. He's like, dude, you just need gas. And like, I don't want to give away too much in the first arc, but that gas station attendant is a character like moving forward. And then like their interactions of like the bathroom. He's like, why don't you have an outhouse in your house? He's like, no, dude, like we use the bathroom there. We use the bathroom in our house. And he's just like, it's just like interactions like that too. But the art is really good. The action is really good. And the book's priced at $2.99. So with a modest discount, you're getting like a $2 book with fantastic art.
How many
month.
Spawn titles are being published each month?
But what I'm saying is you can read this one independently. Like I think it's enjoyable on its own. There are four Spawn titles ongoing currently. I get
It's $12 a month to read Spawn.
No, you don't need to read all. I'm telling you, this is what I'm saying. You do not need to read all the other ones. I think Gunslinger Spawn is far and above the best out of all of them. And it's really self-contained.
1 minute.
They have a book called The Scorched, which is kind of like their Avengers. And Gunslinger Spawn is in that, and Al Simmons Spawn, and Medieval Spawn, and She Spawn, whatever, all of it. Like, Gunslinger is very independent. And so is Spawn. There's 2 Spawn books, and that's where I'm kind of confused. I don't get King Spawn, which is the other Spawn book, but I guess I was doing some reading, and that's like similar to Batman and Detective Comics. That King Spawn is like Detective Comics, but I don't get that one. I just didn't get on board from the beginning. So that's it.
20
that
seconds.
Went longer than I thought.
Yeah. You almost filled the 4 minutes. So you're never going to get me on these Spawn titles right now. I read the first 60 issues or so of Spawn when it first came out. And I started reading it again at number 185 and read through 300 up until they announced Spawn is now a little self-contained superhero universe. And that's when I was out. That's not why I read Spawn. I was reading Spawn when Gunslinger Spawn was introduced into like the main comic before he got his own title. Like, I'm well aware of what's going on, and it is 100% not for me.
All right.
That's not the kind of Spawn comics I want to read.
Spawn comics I want to read though. So
hey man, different strokes.
That's right.
Glad someone's enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it. I'm ready when you are.
Dude, put me in, coach.
You're on the clock.
Second rec, Ghost Rider. The relaunched Ghost Rider that's currently being published at Marvel, which is also it's July. We won't see a new issue until October, unfortunately.
No, right?
I'm a little nervous, to be
back.
honest.
Yeah.
Usually when these things happen, it means that Ghost Rider is getting canceled with issue 5, 6, or 7.
Paper shortage, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I know. I read up on it because they delayed like 30
Everything.
books. Like, it was a lot. But the reason why I'm enjoying this comic so much, even though it's not my Ghost Rider, if you remember, for listeners that have checked out our Ghost Rider issue, Danny Ketch is my Ghost Rider. But I'll deal with Johnny Blaze as my Ghost Rider because this comic is fantastic. It's a little bit horror.
It's a lot of bit horror.
Well, it's not as horror as the 90s Ghost Rider was, in my opinion. But it's still...
It's no spread, but it's pretty graphic,
yeah,
dude. Like,
it's pretty graphic. It's checking the box for the Midnight Suns style Ghost Rider that I'm missing from the 90s. And with every issue, it's getting better. So I'm in this one for the long haul, which traditionally speaking for Ghost Rider means less than 12 issues. So if we get to the second story arc, hey, that's a W, and I'll take it. But there's not much to say about this one. Like, if you're a fan of the occult Marvel stuff, if you're a fan of Ghost Rider, you only get so many chances to read Ghost Rider comics these days that are new. So I'm begging you to please go out and purchase this comic so it keeps going for at least another year or two. I think that'd be really cool. I could read Ghost Rider for longer than single issue numbering. Get in double digits this time. Get a good run from my man GR. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, man, it's just, it's a fun Ghost Rider comic. I don't need much more than that sometimes. I just need to be entertained by a character that is sort of a nostalgia feel to me. It harkens back to the 90s stuff that I love so much. That's it. That one really was quick.
2 minutes. 2-minute review, which was my...
Done.
Can I pop back and ask you one question on one of your other recommendations? Because I'm curious, do you know who the creative team on Spread is? Who's the writer specifically?
Yeah,
I was just curious.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Josh something?
I'm gotta look it up.
I'm already looking it up. Don't worry. Got you.
Ooh. I got it.
You got it already? Okay, we'll say it so everyone else can hear it too.
Justin Jordan?
Yeah,
Justin Jordan
familiar.
and Kyle. Okay, Justin Jordan wrote, I believe he wrote Strange Town of Luther Strode, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, it was Justin Jordan.
He sure did. Okay. And I will probably like Spread because Luther Strode is ridiculously gory and I love that comic book. So that makes sense.
So is this. I mean, since I've been reading this, I've been tweeting screenshots that I like from this comic and also putting them in my Instagram story and my Facebook story. So. Are you ready for rec number 3?
I'm ready for number 3.
Clock started.
So we'll try to not get emotional on this. My number 3 pick. Newburn. Have you heard of Newburn, Dave?
I haven't. Educate me.
Newburn is written by a young man by the name of Chip Zdarsky. And you know how much I like this writer.
I was just call it the Chip Zdarsky show at this point.
I tried it out. Anything with Chip on it, man, I'm gonna try it out. So I tried it out. It is about a detective who investigates criminal activity, criminal related crime between mob families. The thing that is interesting about Newburn as a detective is he is not a police detective. He is hired by the individual mob families to investigate a crime that happens in regards to their family. So Newburn is under the employ of all these different mob families.
Okay.
So he ends on taking an apprentice, which is a female African-American character. She's awesome too. But it's kind of like it's not from her perspective, but like there's prose pages every once in a while, not X-Men level, but they kind of flesh out the story. It's like her journal of like what's kind of going on with her journeys with Newburn. Artist is, and I didn't know for the longest time that Jacob Phillips is Sean Phillips' son. So if you like that Brubaker, Sean Phillips pairing, Criminal, which I love all that crime noir stuff, and like I really have to give a testament to Dave because like that is by far like my favorite genre of comics at this point. Like I love crime noir, and that's probably why like
how's that a testament to me? I didn't put you on that
because you
stuff.
like you put me on like Daredevil though, and you put me on
Okay,
Blue
okay,
Baker.
okay.
So like when you put me on Daredevil, like Daredevil became my favorite character, and then like I was just like Brubaker, Captain America. So like you put me on like, dude, follow the creative team. So like anything Brubaker,
right.
Zdarsky, I'm gonna try it. So pretty much this is Criminal, but written by Zdarsky.
Okay.
So I got like between Ed Brubaker's Reckless volumes and this, I am getting that crime noir like itch scratched so much, but like it is so good. And my favorite thing about it is there's definitely a through line through it, definitely a little bit, but they are like self-contained, like they really are. You could pick up issue 6 and whatever, like they are self-contained. I kind of think of it as like my grandma watching Law and Order. Like, you know, the characters in Law and Order, but like it's just always on, so you can just kind of pick up an issue and kind of go from here to there. It is this is issue 7 and issue 8, and these two were very closely tied together because there was something that happens at the end of 7 that like flowed directly into the 8, and
Yeah,
8
1 minute.
and 8 ended the story arc. And unfortunately, I finished 8 last night, and it is on hiatus until the fall. So we're close to the fall now, but I don't think it's coming back until like November. But Newburn is awesome.
That's barely fall still. That's almost winter, baby.
Yeah. It might be like late October or something, but maybe I'll pick it up in Texas when I come visit you. But Newburn is a fantastic comic book. I didn't think I was necessarily going to vibe with it, but I'm glad I took a shot on it. So that's my number 2.
25 seconds to spare. I'm ready.
Good, man.
Start my timer. I'm ready.
You're on.
Third recommendation. And I gotta give partial credit to you on this one. I'm gonna take partial credit for myself as well, because after the saga of Radiant Black, of Matt trying to get me on it, and then me putting the friendship on the line by not loving it as much as he wanted me to, unbeknownst to me, I was putting the friendship on the line by not loving it as much as he wanted. I saw a solicitation.
This book is so good, dude.
For a little comic called Rogue Sun.
Good.
And I'm reading the solicit, and it says that it's set in the Radiant Black universe, in the Supermassive universe. There's also a one-shot that same month called Supermassive #1. And I said, you know what? The premise of Rogue Sun sounds awesome. So I picked it up. And Supermassive #1. And by extension, that got me back into Radiant Black, because I loved Supermassive, that one shot, so much, the way Rogue Sun and Radiant Black interacted. I thought it was a really, really interesting dynamic, because Rogue Sun is sort of this, like, if he's been a superhero for a while and he's kind of like, doesn't want to deal with some kid's shit, and he's kind of no nonsense and kind of rough around the edges and pretty gruff and pretty pointed with what he says, and is very impatient. And then you've got this kid, you know, in the Radiant Black suit that's like just so stoked to be around a superhero that he knows, that he's idolized, and like he wants some pointers, and he's just not getting anywhere with the guy. And I didn't get at all what I thought I was going to get after reading the Supermassive one shot and then reading Rogue Sun #1.
No.
I won't say what the twist was, but boy, it's set in Louisiana, in New Orleans. And it's a little occult, but it's also like classic superheroing. There's a lot. It's like 4 issues in, and there's already been like some really good twists and turns. Anything Supermassive, I'm buying it day one now. I'm loving all those comics, but Rogue Sun's definitely the best of the bunch. And I don't see how anything's going to take it off the perch anytime soon. But I'm excited to see the Supermassive universe grow. and this comic along with it, because it is just chef's kiss. I love it. Unfortunately, I can't say much more because it would really give away too much of what makes that comic great. So y'all just have to trust me on this one, and just go pick it up. Or don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
that was fine. Whatever. I'm
So
still gonna read it and love it.
I'm definitely taking credit for you getting into Rogue Sun, but like you were definitely the Rogue Sun guy. I will admit, Rogue Sun, man, is way better than Radiant Black at this time. So
It kind of sucks to admit.
Kyle Higgins, we got to step it up, man. We got to take the crown back, because I was really digging Radiant Black, but well, Rogue Sun, dude. Did you read? Are you current on it? I'm not gonna obviously.
No, I'm not.
Oh man. Okay.
I'm not current on much because I've been reading the spread, and I've also been reading what my number 4 recommendation is, which I might struggle to keep that last one to 4 minutes, but.
So our next one's going to be the next book in the Massive versus Dead Lucky, and I've been listening to like a lot of interviews about the Radiant Black universe, so I'm really excited for that one. It's a really cool premise, so I'm looking forward to that one next.
Me too.
So.
Next month I might be talking about Dead Lucky as one of my 4 recommendations.
Gotcha. And I interjected in a lot of that, and you got 10 seconds to spare still, so
bank it.
Bank it.
I don't. Are we doing that? We bank in time? I don't think we're banking time. But
it's the weakest link, bro. Bank it. Oh, my last one.
You ready to bring it home?
Yeah, let me just get one quick sip of water.
All right. When the sip's done, the clock turns on.
Good. Oh man, a book that I took a chance on, that I didn't pre-order originally, but I grabbed it off the rack the week it came out, and I am so happy that I did. King of Spies by Mark Millar and Matteo Scalera.
Not what I expected. I expected this to be that pro wrestling book you've been reading.
Crimson Cage is good, but dude, King of Spies might be one of the best comic books I have read in a very long time.
Those are strong words.
I was at for a mini series contained, it's 4 issues. I was on my anniversary trip with my wife, and we were at a very nice resort. We saved money and went to a nice resort in New York. There was like this room where you get prepared to get your massage, where you're like in this like romantic area, and they have this nice mood lighting, and there's like a lot of other people there. You're just like, it's a tranquil place where you're quiet. Dave knows me. I am not like a binge reader guy. I took King of Spies and I sat there and I read it 3 issues while I was waiting, and went back and read the other issue. I've read this series twice. It is about a retired, it's James Bond, but he's retired, and he finds out he has a year to live, but pretty much 6 months of full functional operating time where he can still do secret agenting. So he's on this clock, and he is trying to make right some of the wrongs he did in his life. His son gets introduced. I'm not going to talk about what his son does, but obviously with him spying and shagging and being a man about town, he was not the best father.
Okay.
The art is fantastic. It's violent. Just the path this man goes on, and his conviction that he has to right these wrongs, dude. I was just absolutely sucked into this book. The trade has on the side of it Netflix, so this is going to be a Netflix show. I don't see how it isn't. It is excellent, an excellent book. If they do a hardcover of those 4 issues, I want it all.
That's it. It's just 4 issues, just a mini.
It's 4 issue mini. So they kind of leave it open to more, but it's pretty. This is a self-contained volume, so I'm interested, because I went on some Facebook groups and like, is this how all the Millar stuff is? Because if so, like, I want in, because I was blown away by this book. So that's all I got. High recommendation.
Retired James Bond. Call that man James Pension.
The guy looks like, when you look at it, he looks like old Pierce Brosnan. So like, I will not be surprised if Pierce Brosnan plays him. Like, I don't have the trade, but that's legitimate.
I'm pretty sure that Mark Millar has a deal with Netflix for like I forget how many shows it was. I'm pretty sure he has something contractually with them, so
Yeah.
wouldn't be
I heard
surprised if he's doing this with like as part of the like, yeah, we're gonna do a comic, and of course it's gonna be a Netflix show too, like a planned like translate it to
yeah,
the
dude.
streamer.
I heard Kick Ass was really good, and I'm on check. The first two volumes are good, and then they everyone the one that got canceled on Netflix, a lot of people told me was good. I
Oh,
can't think of
Jupiter's
the shit.
Legacy.
Jupiter's Legacy I heard was good, and there
I
was
mean,
another one.
we could really, if you really want to get into it, you know, Netflix and canceling shows too soon is like it's a legitimate problem for them right now because they have over 40 shows that only have one season with
Huh.
stories that didn't wrap up in the first season. Jupiter's Legacy ends on a cliffhanger with an expected continuation, and they canceled it the first week of release.
I'm really surprised they canceled that, especially like a superhero thing. I don't know.
They
Josh, dude, I
cancel
don't know those
everything,
people.
man.
They don't care.
I can't
They don't
trust anything
care.
Netflix puts out because they cancel everything after one season, and they don't plan to do that. So they let these writers create a show that ends on a cliffhanger or with unresolved plot lines, and then you never get the end of it. You never get the resolution. It's
Don't invest in it.
can't do it. Can't do it. And it's having the opposite effect that they want because now I'm like afraid to start a new show. So now of
Yeah,
course your numbers are going to go down because you keep canceling shows on people. So they're not going to try a new show because they're afraid you're going to cancel it after one season.
makes sense.
What do you want me to do, Netflix? Tell me what you want me to do.
Tell me what
Sorry,
you
I'm
want.
going
What
on a
you really,
tangent
really want.
as I'm prone to do.
Are you ready, sir? You're wrapping
I
us
am
up.
I am ready.
Begin.
I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm probably not gonna stay within 4 minutes. Because
Longer?
there's a lot to this because it's so. Let me set the stage.
Oh boy.
There are a lot of comics over the years that like I've heard were good. We've all had this happen. Like get a recommendation that you want to try something out, or you know you missed something when it was published because it happened before you were alive, or like you just didn't know to read it, and you hear like these storylines are like you have to go and read this. This is a really cool crossover event, etc. Whatever. So there's a few things that I've had on that list for a really long time, and then for some reason I made a personal commitment to myself to read all of the major Batman crossovers of the 90s this year. So I had reread Nightfall. I read Nightfall and Night's End and Night's Return or whatever. I read all those when they first came out. I was loving it. I ate that crap up. But then I got off Batman after that. So things like Contagion and Legacy and Cataclysm and No Man's Land, I had never read, but I bought them all late last year when they were on sale on Comixology before Comixology was unceremoniously murdered by Amazon. And they've just been sitting and waiting for me. So this year I said I'm going to get through this stuff. I'm going to read these comics. I'm going to read them. I didn't realize how many pages were in all of these. And that is one of the reasons why I'm so far behind on all my comics this year, because I've been trying to make the commitment to myself and see it through, stick to it. So Contagion was like 2,000 pages, and Legacy was like 2,000 pages, and Cataclysm 2,000 pages.
I didn't know they were that long.
And there's 4 volumes of No Man's Land plus 2 volumes called The
gross.
Road to No Man's Land. And each one of those is like 500 pages each. So No Man's Land is almost 3,000 pages. I'm loving this stuff though. If you like 90s superhero comics, and there's some stuff you got to take with a grain of salt. Some of the stuff doesn't age well. Some of it was pretty goofy. Forget the dude's name. There's a dude that used to write for DC that I've always hated. He writes a lot of comics that are in these collected editions that I really dislike quite a bit. I don't want to call him out now because I can't remember his name, but I'll think of it. There's a lot of comics included in these trades that don't really make any sense because they have nothing to do with the story, because they're filler issues, but they still got lumped into the trade. But the connection of events that starts with Contagion, which is a virus taking over, like an Ebola-like virus taking hold in Gotham City, and then Legacy, which deals a lot with the fallout of that virus and ties up some loose ends. There's a lot of Ra's al Ghul and Bane in there, and then leads almost directly into Cataclysm, which, an earthquake destroys Gotham, and then into No Man's Land, which is after Gotham has been deemed uninhabitable and it's closed off from America. Not everyone left Gotham, including everyone that was in Arkham Asylum at the time. They're still there. And the city gets divided into territories that are sort of owned and run by the various members of Batman's rogues gallery. And of course, Batman is still there too. But man, if you have the time and the patience, these are really, really great stories. You can get past some of the hokey 90s stuff that's going to happen in there, and a lot of the dated references, and some really, really bad Azrael comics that are thrown in there too. like bottom of the barrel, like really bad Azrael comics. It's been a really fun read. I'm taking a little break right now. I'm at No Man's Land Volume 2 at the start of it. I just need to take a break, but man, that's my recommendation. Go back and read all the 90s Batman stuff. And if you haven't read Nightfall, start there. That's like 91, 92, somewhere around there. And No Man's Land takes you right through the end of the 90s. I mean, this is really like those 4 or 5 major events encapsulates all of Batman in the 1990s. And it's a really fun thing to go back and read. And Nightfall's awesome because, that's where the bat gets broken, where you get Bane for the first time. No one ever saw Batman defeated and beaten like that before. And Cataclysm was probably my second favorite because of the earthquake. And I really like disaster movies, and this is basically just a disaster movie, but with Batman. It's really cool.
I'm not used to that amount of violence in a Batman comic. Like Cataclysm, like civilian death.
Dude,
like,
just people getting
it's
destroyed.
Bad. Like,
yeah,
the Joker war, like he killed some people. Not like like death in Cataclysm, death.
People trapped under buildings, just getting crushed. Death and destruction.
Well, good, man. You didn't. You only went like a minute over, and your one was really short. So I think we still made our time pretty good.
Good. So, I'm glad. Well, that's it. That's our first episode of 4 for 4, where we have a maximum of 4 minutes to recommend 4 comics that we're really enjoying right now, whether they're currently being published or it's some junk from the 90s that we just happen to really, really enjoy, like me and these Batman books. We'll do more of these if people like it. If you're vibing with it, let us know. Find us on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are in the description of the video and the podcast. What are you holding up, Red? Stray dogs? What is that?
Honorable mention, Stray Dogs. I'm not. You're doing your outro, but if you're a pet lover, check out Stray Dogs. It is a suspenseful thriller where it looks kind of like All Dogs, like the old Disney cartoon style. Ugh, it's really good. Check it out. That's all. I had some honorables, but it's all good.
I didn't know we were doing honorable mentions.
I got to be prepared, Dave. You know that. I didn't know if we were going to have any crossovers, so.
Fair enough.
That's why I gotta have some
Fair enough. So if you're feeling this format, let us know. Like the video, leave a comment, like the podcast, find us on Twitter. If you don't like it, let us know. If you don't care, it's fine. You don't have to let us know. We'll figure that out when no one listens or watches. So until next week, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
We appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Peace.